David, the whole idea that any voter is choosing between the lesser of two evils, I know that's a conversation that happens off TV all the time. I can't let it go, though, because one is truly running on evil ideas, like calling human beings subhuman. I mean, a human is by nature not subhuman, they're human. And the notion, and this is our failure, right? The horror and the reaction was proportionate to the horror of the things he said when he called all Mexicans who come here rapists and murderers. But we are failing. This is a huge deal. And there's an architect putting policy behind the venom. His name is Stephen Miller. And the plans for if you were horrified by the Muslim ban, buckle up. Because Trump doesn't accidentally call migrants subhuman. He says it because the campaign is about putting policy behind that to treat humans, some of them, as subhuman.
Yeah, this is not a contest between the lesser of two evils. Donald Trump is running to take away your rights, and Joe Biden is running to fight for your rights. That is not a race between two different evils. And I think I love this conversation because there is a certain editorial duty, I think, to everyone in industry to begin to approach this differently than 8 years ago. Lodging the accusation of racism has sometimes felt like a social accusation that we need to be cautious about, but it can also be a qualitative determination. And so when Donald Trump says that immigrants are poisoning the blood of Americans, that is racist, xenophobic, vile, and inhumane. That is suggesting that people of one race or ethnicity sit below those of another. That's racist. And so suppose it became routine not to bury it or not report it, but it was routine to see it on the front page above the fold. Donald Trump continues his campaign of racism in trying to return to the White House. I mean, it is a qualitative determination. It's not a social accusation. And if we're missing the boat somewhere, it's the whistling past the graveyard. And where does it come then in policy? Immigration policy is clear. They will shut down any immigration, immigration from countries that they determine are not white or European enough. But on other policies, domestic policies, one of the things that they will do in the name of kind of combating anti-white racism is try to achieve race-neutral policies. That is a hotbed of experimentation in the states right now. Ron DeSantis has done it as well. And they want this new Supreme Court to test the jurisprudence around race-neutral policies. The right sees that as progress. I think the rest of the country would realize we're rolling back policy 50 years if we really suggest that there has been no systemic discrimination that has impacted marginalized communities today, and therefore the country can now look past it. That's where this ends up in the policy room.
I mean, to that note, David Jolly, let me read you this reporting in Axios. In 2021, Stephen Miller's group successfully sued to block the implementation of a $29 billion pandemic-era program for women and minority-owned restaurants, saying the law discriminated against white-owned businesses. Such groups have gained momentum with the Supreme Court's turn to the right, most notably its recent rejection of affirmative action in college admissions. The court ruled that programs designed to benefit people of color and address past injustices discriminate against white and Asian Americans. In 2021, a federal judge blocked a $4 billion program to help black farmers. The problem is just look at the voting rights architecture, right? Republicans used to argue, I think when you and I were both still Republicans, that we don't need it anymore. But what are Republicans doing? They're eliminating the access to vote in all of the ways that primarily, not exclusively, but many minorities vote, and people with less sort of freedom over their work schedule. So they are actively working to make the playing field uneven in every corner of American civic life.
That's right. Look, the last century is replete with hard-fought victories by the civil rights movement to recognize, to put into the law and the policy that our foundations, which elevated the white slave-owning, land-owning male, actually created discriminate impacts for generations to come. And those have existed all the way, certainly through the 60s when we saw the Civil Rights and the Voting Rights Act. And you can argue they exist now in different economies based on the zip codes in which certain communities live. The right wants to say, no, we can go race-neutral, colorblind. And I'll give you another example where they really want to test this, and it puts a fine point on this. When it comes to drawing district lines, legislative lines, it happened here in the state of Florida. Ron DeSantis wanted race-neutral neutral lines. The Republican supermajority said that's going too far because the courts won't let us do it. And what was said about DeSantis by a Republican colleague is this. Republicans currently have drawn the lines in accordance with the Constitution. DeSantis wants them drawn with what he wants the Constitution to be. And that is what Stephen Miller, Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, and everyone wants to test in front of their newly accommodating Supreme Court, this race-neutral idea that abandons a century of hard-fought victories in civil rights and voting rights.
This next thing I'm going to share with you bolsters my musing that perhaps we should see more of Trump's dismal performances at his rallies. He invoked a true tragedy. The problem is he lied about it. Let me read this to you. Trump went on and on about Ruby Garcia, who was brutally murdered and was found dumped on the side of a highway. Brandon Ortiz Veidt has confessed to her killing, was in the United States illegally. According to the Washington Post, Trump said he spoke to the murder victim's family. The victim's sister said it never happened. Quote, she lit up the room, and I've heard that from so many people, Trump said at a news conference in the hometown of the 25-year-old victim, Ruby Garcia. Quote, I spoke to some of her family. Quote, but Garcia's sister, acting as a family spokeswoman, said Tuesday that Trump and his campaign have not contacted her or other immediate relatives and rebuked the GOP presidential nominee's effort to make the case part of his calls for a border crackdown.
Good for them. Good for them. And that's what I was saying before. More people need to stand up and stand out. And I understand the fear that comes with that. But this is what well-meaning people have to do in this moment in time, is just stand up. And we, as the folks who are encouraging it, need to be able to encircle them and find ways to protect them and support them. And that's why David's point is so important about the qualitative information, because I can also give you the quantitative information, right? How the fact that, as you talk about voting rights, the Brennan Center for Justice just put out a report saying that in the areas where the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, there is a growing divide over the last, I think, 10 or so years between black turnout and white turnout, and are attributing it specifically to the gutting of the Voting Rights Act. When we think about...
And doesn't it get turbocharged between 20 and 22?
Absolutely right. And it's clear that when you layer on top of that all of the opportunities or chances that the Republicans want to suppress that vote, it's just going to be worse. When you talk about the reference to people of color as being subhuman, like, we feel that, because how many times do we get the feeling that we're seen as having a high threshold for pain and a low threshold for intelligence, and how that dominates so much of our policymaking, so much so that black women concerned about their own mental health, maternal health, are looking more towards doulas and midwives, because you know, there's a concern about what happens when they go into to get care. So there is both qualitative and quantitative information that exists to suggest, to show how disparate our lives are because of the influence of systemic and institutional racism. So when you talk to voters about why this moment is important, is because you have an opportunity to shape these institutions in ways that you'd never had. But at the same time, if you don't stay engaged and don't become a part of it, it will shape your life in a way it never did, and in a far more negative fashion.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.